Yeah, YouTube, what up? Day 2, EUCF 2018, Discover TV in the house, live from Poland. We are streaming the first game of the day between Discover and Sirocco. This is Andres doing the comment, we have Ricardo there. Let's do this. Ricardo, come here, say hi, so everyone meets you.
Hi everyone.
Okay.
Andres, thank you so much for helping.
No, it's okay. Hey, welcome to the game. It's, as Duarte says, is Discover Lisboa versus Sirocco from Latvia. I think they're from Riga. I'm pretty sure actually. Discover, just to recap on yesterday. Please tell me if the sound is okay. The mic is causing me a little bit of trouble right now. Yesterday, Discover went 2-1. They won 2 on Universe, and they lost 1 final game where they looked pretty tired. I talked to some of the players afterwards as well, and they said they felt really tired. So they lost that final game to Leftover. The team from Riga lost 2 and won 1. So technically, both teams have the opportunity to go through to semi-finals. We saw Sirocco starting on the point, and here they hold for the first point. So it's now 1-0 Sirocco, which I've been told means wind. Both teams had a turn on this point, so it was fortunate for the Sirocco team to hold. The conditions are pretty good. Like, as you see, there's a clear sky. The sun is a little low, which can sort of affect your viewing, especially if you're looking. So if you are looking at the Discover end zone, if you are in the far side corner where Dimitri is right now, and you're looking towards the disc, that can be difficult because the sun is coming from that way right now. There's a little bit of wind. Nothing that should. Maybe you can point to the flag. You can see here that there's a little bit of wind coming this way. But as a Sirocco player is walking past, there's a little bit of wind, but nothing too crazy. It shouldn't affect throwers too much. And so now we see Discover on their first offensive point. You got Ines Bringel on the disc with a nice break to Nico Santamaria. It looks like Sirocco are playing with a more of a straight force, so allowing the unders but protecting the deep, which I think this comes from scouting. They've seen Discover they have some really good deep cutters. They like to put it deep. Or here, Bringel with the disc. She's dumps it off to Santa Maria, who throws it to Ines, who almost makes the grab. It's a difficult disc to grab as it's curling away from her, but to be sure, Ines will be unhappy with not coming down with that disc. I'm not sure if she would have caught it in the end zone, but certainly at the edge of it. So now Discover turn, and we'll see if Sirocco can break on their first opportunity. Oh, as number 72 wobbles it all the way to the end zone, their own end zone. So Duarte is now trapping him. Not trapping, but really playing it close. And Discover seems to really focusing on protecting that open side that really hurt them in their loss yesterday against Leftover. As the it seems to be a corner pitch. Sorry about that. Oh wait, I think it was retracted. So yeah, we got Ricardo Patron on the disc. Taps it in. He's handling with Bringel and throws a nice floaty pass to Santa Maria. As you can see here, the wind does make the disc wobble a little bit, but those high pop passes are still possible. So scores now 1-1. Both teams held on offense, but also both offenses gave away a turn. So we'll see if the offenses clean up, or if we're going to get some breaks in this game. I see here Discover on the line, getting ready to pull, as Sirocco are walking towards line. Sorry, how many players on your team? How many players on your squad? How many players on your squad? Yeah, how many guys and girls? Ah, wait, six girls and 8 guys. So a squad of 14, very similar to the one of Discover. Oh, the game started. So 2 comparatively small squads. Discover is coming out in a zone. So we'll see how the Sirocco team handles the pressure the zone brings. It's very, very different from when you have a straight up mark. And like the handlers are showing nice patience. They're not gaining any movement, but when you play against a zone, that's not always what you want to do. Sometimes it's good to have the. Oh, here's a nice deep put. Pedro got caught, looking a little bit too in. He wasn't respecting the throwing ability of the Sirocco handlers and the deep threat that is in the number. I can't see her number. As she turns, maybe she'll turn. No, but no, it's 2-1 Sirocco. Both teams have held a clean hold from Sirocco this time, and now we'll have Discover back on disc and see if they can hold. So far, no breaks, but it's still early in the game. Teams should be quite well rested. This is the first game for both teams today. Both teams will play 3 games today. Two teams in pool play and 1 either a crossover, placement decider, or the semi-final. That will sort of depend on how the rest of the pool plays out. We'll see here Patan disc, floats it to Inez, scouting the field, dumps it back to Pachao. Again, looking the disc. Pachao holds the disc, looking for Johnny. Nice, easy pass, Johnny, whose defender was clearly respecting the deep threat that Johnny can be. Handlers working in a nice. Oh, Pachao climbing that ladder, getting it high. Seems a bit frustrated without having a deep option when he gets the disc in a power position. Edward on disc, looking for Inez. Travel called, but didn't affect play, so the turnover will stand. And this seems to have figured this out as well. Yeah, so basically a travel is an offense or infraction on an offensive player, but in this situation it didn't sort of affect play. Oh, here Sirocco with a nice hook, and it's sort of just, she tries to do the right thing and pancake it, which means clapping, also known as clap catching it, but just mistimes it and it floats through her hands. Possibly it came down a little faster than she was expecting. Oh, here Inez with a nice break. Duarte, Johnny with the continuation to Duarte. Strau scouting the field. Oh, not a great look from Duarte, but gets saved by Johnny, who, when the disc floats over the female offender, defensive player, sorry. Discover seems to want to establish some calmness in their offense, but Chao holds this sort of to get his stack aligned. I think there's a pick called on the field, which should be good for the Discover offense, so they can sort of calm down a bit. Oh, nice cut by Johnny, who throws it to Artex. It's for a nice continuation score. So Discover holds for a score of 2-all. So far, both offensive have seemed pretty clean, but still giving away turns. So there have been opportunities both for the Discover defense and for the Sirocco defense. But so I'm sure we'll see some breaks coming up in the game. Here we see Discover sort of talking a lot to their sideline. This would usually be an indication that they're assigning who players talk to. This is common practice amongst frisbee teams, and especially used when you play zone, because as zone works, and like obviously as sort of the word would indicate, you have a zone you cover, and then it's really beneficial to have someone on the sideline shouting when someone's moving into your zone. And here, this, as predicted, Discover lines up in the zone, and here the hug comes up, but the Sirocco player reads it beautifully, and skies the Discover defender, who yet again seems not to be respecting the deep throwing ability of the Sirocco players, because that was a beautiful put. So the Discover zone, it's funny enough, they actually seem to hold quite nicely sort of the short passes that will normally be the zone, but have shown themselves to be vulnerable against the hug. We've seen the score twice now. The score is 3-2 to Sirocco. Teams have held on offense, so no breaks, and now we'll see the Discover offense on the pitch, and see if they can continue this trend. So far, a very even game. The teams seem to be very matched up nicely. The Sirocco players are playing like two different styles, obviously. Discover with their very sort of apart from like very much focused all on the short game. A lot of which we see with a lot of short passes between the handlers, give and goes, dumping. Now we see here the Sirocco zone. We'll see if Discover will be able to break it as nicely as Sirocco have done against them. Pachau floats it over to Inez, who gives a quick pass to Maria, throws it to Dmitry, to Pachau again. Now working nicely against the zone, making hard for them to reset. Pachau looks for the swing. Nice continuation by Discover, really sort of making those zone players work, making them run. You can like which is the idea that they will tire. Basically, a lot of times against zone, it's a question of are your handlers willing and capable of simply outrunning the zone. And here we clearly see how the Discover handler set has been willing and able to outrun the zone, moving it nice and slowly up the pitch. Santa Maria, can you move a bit? Inez on the disc, and we'll now see the Discover end zone offense. They struggled a bit yesterday, not so much with their conceptual understanding of how to play end zone offense, but more with execution. We saw some missed throws and some drop catches. Inez here calling a foul, an uncontested foul, meaning the stall count will reset to 0. You see a clear height disadvantage between the Discover. A nice break by Bringel, continuation, and a beautiful Discover hold. Like they were initial frustration from Pachau as the Discover cutters didn't really recognize they were playing against the zone, but as soon as that happened, they cleared out and just let the handlers do their job. This is one of the ways you beat zone. Obviously, we have seen the Sirocco players do it with the deep throw, but this is another way to beat the zone. Just making the cup run, and then when they tire out a little bit, your handlers, outrun them, and that's what we saw here. And then we saw that Sirocco, they sort of struggled a bit in transition to man defense, getting some mismatches across the pitch, which made it easy. Which after the Bringel break made it easy for an easy score. So the score is now 3-all. Teams have held, and we'll now see the Sirocco offense on the pitch. It'll be interesting to see if Discover will continue throwing the zone. It hasn't been particularly successful, but maybe they have sorted out protecting that deep. we see here that they do run out in the zone. So we'll see. See here the discover zone. Hey. Sorry, I'm we see here that again the Sirocco handlers are not are moving this calmly, but they don't really gain a lot of yardage. This is where they've previously thrown it deep. Oh, here and here they find a nice sweet spot in the zone between the short deep and the deep. Or we can hear now on the pitch that the score will transition to man defense. And again here there's some miscommunication in the transition, where Discover clearly were not set on who would be marking who, and we saw a lot, like 2-3 Sirocco players, making it for an easy score. The score is 4-3 Sirocco. Again, the teams have sort of been trading points on offense. No breaks so far. Fairly clean holes the last 3 or 4 points, I'd say, for both teams. So both teams 2 points really. And you know, it's nice to see clean offensive ultimate, because you often you see a lot in sort of lower level ultimate, a lot of turns on each point, and obviously, and that's sort of obviously that can come down to great defense, but usually there's also sort of a lack of offensive execution involved. So it's nice to see that both offenses are clicking nicely here. Brinchel and Bachar working it up nicely before their marks are on them. We see here that Sirocco have gone away from their and with a deep shot to Maria, who gets it in the end zone. The Sirocco players seems to be indiscriminate whether or not there was a score. The Discover players seem to be fairly confident, but the Sirocco players on the pitch call for a score. And in Frisbee, when there's a disagreement, you obviously take it from the players on the pitch, as like they will be the one deciding. So a clean, fast hole from Discover. The score is 4-4. You know, after watching Discover play yesterday, I didn't see Sirocco yesterday. I enjoy watching them play some cleaner offensive ultimate. Like you have seen a few turns, but you know, good defenses will also generate some turns. But generally they do play a lot cleaner. You can see that the cutters are able to run a bit more. The handlers are a bit are more confident in their throws as well. So yeah, we'll see if we can continue this trend of the offensive holes as the Discover defense is ready to get on the pitch. I wonder if they're gonna stick with the zone. It hasn't been particularly successful, but it looks like they're sticking with the zone. They've now swapped their deep Pedro, who is now on the mark. So before they were playing the wall, which is sort of where the idea is that you take away the passing lanes. Now they're throwing the cup, where it's trap defense. You're basically trying to make sure that the handler doesn't have anywhere to throw, as Hamling here really sort of fumbles the zone. That was his hole. He was meant to be there, I think. And here, let's see. Discover is transitioning to man marking. Let's see if they can make a cleaner transition than this before. Oh, here as the Sirocco handler hammers it into the end zone. The Sirocco player didn't seem to be aware that was going to happen, so he reacted after the throw, which is ideally not what you want to see. It's when the disc comes down at that speed, especially with the from an upside down, it's going to come around really fast. It's going to be hard to get to. So now we Discover here has a chance to break. They have Nico on the disc, throws it a bit high to Ines, who Discover really playing on the edge here. Tight coverage from the Sirocco players. Patra on the disc. Back to Bunjel, who throws it deep to Pedro. A bit underthrown. And now we'll see the Discover trap defense again. So as I said before, it's different from the zone, the wall they played before. Oh no! I can hear the call is that they gonna switch to man mark. They don't want to throw the zone again right now, which is understandable. Yeah. We see here the Sirocco players playing the open side. Nice, safe, standard ultimate. Discover now committing to take away that open side. She tries to break, but again we see the same thing as before. The Sirocco players don't seem to be aware that these breaks will be coming, and therefore they react after the throw, making it difficult for them to reach it. With Nico hucks it deep to Pedro, who the Sirocco player gets a hand on it. That's a second D he's getting in this point. That's a beautiful read. The disc was maybe half a meter underthrown, but overall a really great disc. Just really standout defense from the Sirocco players. I think he may have surprised Santa Maria a bit with his speed. I was unsure as well if he was going to get there, but he did, and he timed his jump extremely well, so was able to get up. Here, Sirocco now on O. On the break side, we'll see if they continue. Now they stall it. Here. Nicolas on the disc. Calmly throws it to Bunjel. Resets to Nico. But Shao is there for the swing if both need. Nico breaks for Erik Hamling, who looks at Bunjel. Again, nice, a bit more calm now from Discover. They've tried 2 deep hucks who have been unsuccessful in them. They're now on the end zone. Bunjel with this doesn't like what she sees, but Shao offers her an out, gets it. But Shao, the lefty, swings it to Nico, who's looking for this continuation to Patrao, to Bunjel, who gets it in traffic. A little bit risky, but when you have a player with Bunjel's caliber, you are confident throwing it into traffic with her. That's the first break of the game. 4-5 now. And it'll be interesting to see if we'll get any more breaks. But the Sirocco players really seem to be quite frustrated in that point. They were not as didn't seem as comfortable playing against the man mark, where you sort of commit to the open side. There were some miscommunications between the handlers and the cutters, where you, as I mentioned before, you saw the cutters sort of reacting after the throw, which is very difficult as a cutter. On the bright side from Sirocco, we saw that their offensive D, so when their offense plays D, they do play quite confidently, generating 2 turns as well. Sirocco indicating on the line that they're ready. Discover now getting ready to pull. It's a nice high pull. Discover a little slow to get down there, but again, now we're now back here in the cup defense. It's the zone defense they played before. They did generate a turn as well, where it's so the cup defense is asking a bit more of the handler's throwing ability, because you do need to be able to break the mark when you want those swing cuts. But it's also less safe, because if it gets broken, you are it's very easy for the offense transition. As we saw here, the break came out, and then Discover now transitions to man defense as Sirocco are playing on the edge of the end zone. Here, standard sort of straight line. Here with Johnny with the double D, if you want that, giving a good example of why you always teach younger players to catch their Ds, as it's called, because Johnny needs to go He gets it once, but actually needs to get up and get it a second time. Okay, before securing disc. Nico now has the disc on the edge of the end zone, his own end zone. Nice break to Duartex, who dumps it off to Marta. Continuation to Johnny, who calls a timeout. I think that's a wise choice. Discover has a chance now to go up 2 breaks. You have 2 timeouts each half. The score is 4-5, and half is at 8. So, like, it's a good time to take timeout if Discover is able to sort of calm their nerves, talk about how they want to run their offense now, and can get the second break in a row. That will be very good for them. And then the nearing half. That's certainly what the plan was for Nico when he indicated to Johnny that he should take timeout. For those of you who are unaware, only the player on the disc can call the timeout. So even though that Nico is the captain or the sideline maybe wants a timeout, it's only the player who's on the pitch, who on the disc can call the timeout. So again, also only the offensive player. Injury timeout is obviously something different because now we're dealing with the health and safety and of the players. But just sort of these tactical timeouts, it's only the offensive player who has the disc who can hold it. We saw a funny situation yesterday. I can't actually remember who it was from Discover who was unsure how to do the signal, and we saw him sort of try and do it with the T with his hands and his disc same time as hands. He was very scared of dropping the disc, I think. So it too much amusement of all the players on the pitch. We hear the sound, the whistle here, so meaning the timeout should end. So again, the way the timeout works is that now the offensive 7 players will set. And so when I say set, I mean they will line up any way they want. It doesn't need to be how they were positioned before, which is also a tactical good thing to do. So they now are able to position themselves exactly as they want. And when the offensive have set how they want to be, the defense can then mark up again. And the defense can mark up in any way they want. If they want to mark it in a zone or man defense, that's up to them. If they want to switch their marks, that's up to them. The only thing that really is that Johnny needs to stay where he was, and he needs to be the guy on the disc. We see now the teams are communicating if they're ready, and they seem to be. So yeah, the Sirocco player taps the disc in. Johnny with the nice, Maria gets her hands on it. That's not what they were looking for. That seems to be the core play, but maybe like obviously not excuse wise. And here, here the Sirocco player falls down. I didn't see if it was due to contact or if he fell, if they ran into each other. But most importantly at this time is that he's okay. He got up fairly quickly. It could be. Calling a foul, probably due to contact. It's hard to see. So basically, the rules are that both the offensive and the defensive player have equal right to the disc, but you're not allowed to sort of run in each other's running lanes, and you're not allowed to put your hands in front of the other players. You see often in football either. So what my guess is what they're arguing is whether or not Johnny ran into his running lane, and therefore the Sirocco player ran into Johnny. I think that's what they're discussing. The players can't. If the players can't agree, they will often turn to teammates to decide for their perspective, which is what's going on now. Ideally, this should take only 30 seconds. That's the plan. But we often see in Frisbee that these sort of more contested calls are take a little longer. But if they disagree, they should sort of just say contested foul. But in this situation, it seems that if that clarification rules. Okay. So an uncontested foul. But he's okay. That's why he's moving. He's also calling an injury sub. That's what confused me because he then started running off the pitch. So an uncontested foul. So basically, while he probably would have caught the disc in the end zone. Since it's a foul, he can't. You won't get the point. It's only if it's a pick you will get that, and therefore no. And therefore the foul will be And here I was wondering about what's going on. You see, since he's the foul player and now he got swapped, that's the guy who needs to start on disc. But that's what we saw as well. The Sirocco players made the adjustment. Now we see Sirocco knocking on the Discover end zone, and they punch it in with a nice inside break on the forehand. So the Sirocco team hold for a score of 5-all. Discover are up one break because they will start with the disc after half. So to recap on the game, we've seen some pretty good offensive ultimate from both teams. We've only had one break in the game, and players do not seem to be bothered with a little bit of wind there is. It's a very competitive game. It's like you don't see a lot of these sort of easy catches or easy scores. Both seems to be matched up well. Again, they play different styles, especially on defense. But still, an enjoyable game to watch. So this Sirocco are getting ready to pull, and we'll see if Discover can hold on to their one break lead.
Just a remark on the situation.
Yeah.
Because he's saying that he has the position. Yes, when the disc is out, he's in front.
So here the pull comes out. Nice floaty to Patron, but not enough height on it because you see the Discover players are able to move it up. This quite easily to the up the pitch. As Justina drops the disc, it's a nice pass, but here again the Discover seems to be they really commit to protecting the open side. Here and the handlers here moving it. Oh, it's a nice break by the number 50. The disc comes up. Again, here we see a reason why you should really catch the D, because as Eric punches the disc, it goes up, and he should just catch that disc. It's fairly it's fairly risk-free now, but we do see the Sirocco turn. So the Discover offense is back. A hug to Lydia, who seems to be in position, runs it down nicely, stays calm on the disc, dumps it off to Pedro, who's looking, dumps it off to Inez. I think she's saying that it didn't affect their play. The pick was in the end zone, I think. So we'll see. Yeah. Disc going in. Johnny on disc. Swings it to Patral. Patral's looking for an option. Gets it from Pedro. Looking for Inez. Doesn't give it to her. Patral throws it to Pedro again. Nice patient handling here from the Discover handler set. Inside to Johnny. Patral now knocking on the end zone and throws it to Pedro for the Discover hold. That's nice patience by the Discover handlers. The cutters clogging that open space a little bit, making it difficult for the handler sort of to throw it into them, which is probably why they decided to try and work it in themselves. But in the end, a nice Discover hold. Score is now 5-6 for Discover, and we'll see the Sirocco defense back on the pitch. Doing half, I'll try and get one of the players to come and tell us a bit about their club. But yeah, they will probably also like to be in there. Wait, one sec. like an injured player or something, or who can come and tell us a bit about your team, like when we get to half?
Let me ask.
Yeah, sure. Yeah, because we would like to hear about like your story.
Yeah, sure.
So he's gonna, I don't know his name, but 72 is gonna find out if we can talk to one of their players doing half. So hear a little bit about how they are as a team and how when they were formed, their philosophy, the history of their team. We now seen the Sirocco offense on again with the two girl handlers, in the two girls in the three handler set. Discover playing man defense. Again, really committed to protecting that open side. And the Sirocco player hucking it now. It's gonna come in late. Oh, and Johnny gets there just in time. That's a nice rundown. Like it's a nice closing speed from Johnny. Johnny, maybe doesn't possess the explosive sort of first cut as someone like Nico, but his closing speed is really quite something to see here. So it's like, and he jumps and just hits out of the pitch. We see here Nico picking this up and setting in play. So this is a chance for Discover to break. They are, as I've said a couple times, they are up one break, but being able to break a second time would be very important for them. Duartex on the disc. Johnny on the disc. Sorry. Once it deep, Bard horses it. Nico up the line, throws it deep for Pascal, who scores. That's a nice put from Santa Maria over the Sirocco defender, who doesn't have a chance to get to it. Like either it just floats over him, or he's just outrun by Pedro. And he does, I think, what any player would do. He tries to get up and get it, and he's not able to. Oh, yeah, sure, great. Yeah. So, hi, my name is Andreas.
My name is David.
Nice to meet you, David. So, can you tell us a bit about your team? Like, when did it start? Am I pronouncing it correctly when I say Sirocco?
It's Sirocco, like with an S, not with a she or C, or it's classic S, Sirocco. Sirocco actually represents the southeastern wind that blows from Sahara towards to Europe. The team started as an open team actually, and it started in 2014. September 1st is our birthday. Yeah, so we started as an open team from Riga. Since Riga and Latvia in general and its climate doesn't really provide you an option to play the whole year in outdoors, we started as an indoors team. Then we gathered more people, opened and started women team, and it all turned out that in summer, when the indoor league is over, the mixed outdoors is where we can truly found ourselves. Yeah, and so this way we began.
Cool. Thank you. I think we'll return to the game now because Sirocco is back on offense. But we'll return to try and catch some of the other Sirocco players later on in the game. Thank you very much, David.
Thank you, Andreas, for inviting me.
Alright, we see here. Oh no, we didn't actually get to see it. But Sirocco's hold on offense with a nice clean hold. The score is now 6-7. Discover have 2 breaks because they will start on disc now and they will start on disc after half. But a nice clean hole for Sirocco. Sorry, he said the normal S. I'll try and remember that. Yeah, must be good. It's been a tough couple of points for their offense. So it's always nice sort of to get the pressure off a little bit. When you are down a few breaks, then you can sort of rest your legs as an offense, and sort of the defense can go out and do its job. Yeah, we now see Sirocco getting ready to pull, and the Discover offense will try and take us to half. We see again Patra handling with Ines and Johnny, with Maria, Lydia, and Maria clogging it. We now see the Sirocco zone, leaving Brinchel completely open. Discover handlers are able to just swing it up the line. It's a bit of a wonky throw by Johnny. I think he should just stronger dump and stronger earlier, but still, it's the Discover team moving up the pitch nicely as the Sirocco really sort of transition to man. Bachar here threatening the lefty hammer, giving him the line, and Discover hold for half. That's half, guys. 8-6. Oh, Nico, no, please. That's our captain, everyone. That's our captain. That's half, everyone. I think Sirocco haven't really. It's half. But you got a guy that I don't think he. Sometimes when you have your head in the game, I know this myself, you sort of forget the score and you're like, oh, okay, and then suddenly it's 8 and oh, it's half. I think that's what happened for this Sirocco player. Yeah, Discover will start the disc on offense, so they have a chance to go up 9-6, which I'm sure they would like to do. The theme of the game so far has been pretty steady offensive ultimate with 2 breaks from Discover. Discover are yet to be broken. They've turned it over a couple times on O, but they've managed to get it back each time. Sirocco giving up 2 breaks in the first half, but no. Otherwise, pretty neatly beat the Discover zone, the war zone, with 2 beautiful deep hugs, but have struggled more against their man defense, which has really emphasized shutting down those open side cuts. The Sirocco players have not sort of been on point with the break throws either. Or sort of the break cuts. I'd venture to say that it's actually more the timing and the communication, because the throwers have been able to break, and the cutters can obviously cut to the break side, but they've not always sort of been timed correctly. We've seen a lot of throws that have gone up, and then the cutter will have had to react to it, and in some situations have done that too late, simply just not been able to get to the disc. Yeah, it's out of the score is 8-5 to Discover. No, 8-6. It should. What? Wait. I think the score should be. Maybe it's 8-5, 8-6. There's 2 breaks and go up 1. Okay, no, 8-5. Yeah, and Alvaro Discover will go up with. Will start with disc on offense. So they have a chance to go up another point. Sorry, I will just get my bottle of water so my voice doesn't tire. 1 sec. Okay. Sorry about the mix-up. It is 8-6. I think that also makes sense. 2 breaks. We'll give that score. What takes? You start with the disc on offense, right? Yeah, so they need the disc.
Defense, we start D.
You start D? What? No, that's not right.
We start attack, now we are defending.
Really? Okay, my mistake, everyone. I was busy setting it up. I actually thought Discover started with it on D. So apparently they were broken in the first point. So they're not up 2 breaks, but just 1. Because now Sirocco can get to 7-8. So yeah, Discover up by 1 break. So game is a little closer than I thought. We'll now see that the Sirocco offense is ready as the Discover defense sets. It looks like it'll be interesting to see if they attempt the zone again. Like, they have been very successful with it in their previous games, but in this game the the man marking has really sort of been what has been generating the pressure and the Ds. So we'll see. It looked like from the line how they were lining up that it's going to be a man defense. Here we see Sirocco lining up in a two-handler set rather than a three-handler set. Nice patience here from Sirocco players, moving this confidently. On the open side, which is Discover was really good at shutting down. So we'll see if they can clank down here on now that they've gone into the second, on the half of the pitch. Pick called after the throw, I think. It seems to be indicating, which means that Erik will be allowed to catch up, but the Sirocco player will still have the disc. Sirocco have been moving it up nicely on the open side on this point. But we now see here Discover really sort of committing to protecting that open side. Sirocco handlers surveying the field. Nice line cut. Getting a little bit slow on the swing for my taste. Here Sirocco now on the sideline. Really sort of cutting. Oh. And here we have the breakthrough. So Sirocco hold on their first offensive point here in the second half, making the score 7-8. We'll now see the Discover offense on the pitch, and see if they can hold the intensity we saw in the first half. That was a little bit of a flat sort of defensive effort from the Discover team. It was too easy for the Sirocco players to just work it up on the open side. But now we'll see if Discover can convert on their first offensive possession here in the second half. They'll be lining up with Johnny, Marta, Patrao, Joanna, Dwartex, Lydia, and Dimitri. I don't know the Sirocco players, but they look tall and fast. Generally, Discover not the tallest team. They're a very fast team, but not a very tall team. Lydia bringing some height on the girls' side, but not a lot of height on the men's side here. Discover with some nice patient offense. Ooh, Lydia with the low throw. Marta though with both hands safely gets it. Johnny on the disc. Nice backhand break to Dwartex, who dumps it off to Patrao. Patrao looking for the end zone, floating into Lydia, who goes up and gets it. No, not a perfectly timed catch, but still comes down with the disc. There seems to be a call on the pitch. I don't know if it really affected play. We'll see what the Sirocco player says, but it seems that Dwartex is calling a foul. Okay, so foul called. Injury sub as well. Dwartex would like to go out. Yeah, foul. Yeah, uncontested foul. So the stall will come in at 0, but the score will not stand. I think the Sirocco player have heard the foul and then just as well, which is completely fair. Patrao with the disc at the edge of the end zone, looking, serving. Wants it up, gets Johnny, who just straight up beats his man to the cone. Standard sort of end zone ultimate. If the offensive player is able to beat the defender to the cone, it's on the open side. It's a pretty easy throw for the handler. The score is now 9-7. Discover as they hold. Game is to 15, or when the cap is. Due to the fairly sort of stable offense, I think we might go to 15 in this game. And we'll now see the Sirocco offense on the pitch again. We'll see if Discover will stay with the man marking and if they can shut down the open side a bit better, as they were able to in the first half. Oh, Sirocco makes a line change just in the last minute. now indicating that they're ready. So yeah, Petrao getting ready to pull. And here comes that lefty backhand. Puts a little bit of IO on it. Due to the wind, it floats nicely in there. Time for the Sirocco player to get down there. Here again, the Sirocco goes back to that man defense. But they have seemed to have. Oh, yeah. I think it was just simply a bad throw, a throwaway by the Sirocco cutter. I think it confused the Sirocco players a little bit that Discover left a man open and just sort of put Petrao in the open space. It's a bit of cheeky move. But here I think that's actually the player threw it away who gets it back just at the Discover end zone, edge of the end zone. So now Sirocco will have it straight on the end zone line with the ability to punch it in. Oh, and she does. She beats Brinjel to the cone. So a bit of an up and down point for that Sirocco player. First throws away, then gets the D, and then gets the point. So bookends for her, including a throwaway. The score is now 8-9. Discover, who's still up one break. So now we'll see the Discover offense back on. And see if they can continue the trend of fairly easy holds, I would say, in the last 2 points. The Sirocco players have yet sort of to fully slow down the Discover handlers, who have really sort of been able to work it down the pitch nicely. Usually they get to sort of the halfway pitch, and then the cutters sort of become greater threats in the end zone and are then able to cut back under. Yeah. Okay. Sirocco getting ready to pull. They're switching some of their marks, which would appear that they're then gonna do man marking. Okay, pull, but here, so we see the difference now. This was it's a nice pull. Actually, I thought I was gonna throw out. Petrao chooses to catch it, dumps it off to Nico, who hucks it deep, a bit underthrown to Johnny. And now Sirocco have a chance to get their break back. The Sirocco handlers on. Discover struggling a little bit to get the defensive set. Oh, again, nice line cut here. And Sirocco break. It's now a tie game. 9-9, I think it should be. Maybe. Oh wait. Oh yeah, 9-9. So it's a tie game. 2 breaks on each side. With Discover starting on disc now. So Sirocco will pull. And we'll see if the Discover can regain their offensive rhythm. It was underthrown huck from Nico that Sirocco was able to capitalize on. Here I'd like to see Discover go back to what has been working for them. Really just trusting their handlers can move it up the pitch with nice short passes. Because that has really sort of been their bread and butter in this game. Very, very few turns on this way of playing and a lot of yards gained. And then they can sort of look deep when they get past the halfway line. That seems to have been a winning formula. Yeah, the Sirocco players are getting ready to pull. And we see nice deep pull, not a lot of air on it, so Nico can catch it early and move it up the pitch with Johnny. So Discover now in a 2-handler set compared to the 3-handler set they've been playing a lot earlier. Floaty pass to Johnny, back to Maria, who throws it to Nico. Swings it to Johnny, who throws it to Lydia, who up to Nico, who hammers it to Pedro. Will he get there? No, just no doubt that Pedro was open. The hammer though, very flat. And I think a bit like the Sirocco players earlier in the game, Pedro was not ready for the break side hammer, and therefore has to react to the throw, and we'll get there a bit later. And we see here again the Discover players with a lot of switching on defense, really to protect that open side. Oh, the hug was on, but the Discover players need to clamp down on their switching, because switching is really good if it works, but if it doesn't, you end up with two players who are free. Sirocco now working that disc on offense, trying to sort of slow down here, working on the open side, so a lot of dumping. Nice save by the Sirocco second handler there with the disc that floats over the. The Sirocco player here with a bit of a risky throw. Her offensive player was not open, and Eric comes down with a nice D. So we now see Discover back in the two-hander set. Nico on disc, throws it to Maria, who looks for the continuation. It's not there. Dumps it off to Nico. Throws to Pedro, up the line. Nico on disc, nice pass by Johnny. Nico to Lydia, who gets it just outside the end zone. And then a nice Discover hold. Very important for them to hold this point. I'm sure the Sirocco players will be gutted that they did have the disc fairly down on the Discover half to and Sirocco. Ah man, that S. It's even how I normally say S's. It's stupid how Sirocco will normally call a timeout. Ricardo, can you talk a bit? I'll be back once.
The score right now is 10-9. Discover win.
Sorry guys, I am, it's no secret that I play for the Discover team, and I just want to tell Pedro that about how the guy was marking him, and he's not allowed to do that. He's allowed this space where he is. He can't wrap his arm around him. Anyway, so the score is 10-9 Discover. It's an even game. Sirocco will start with the disc, so they have an opportunity to make it 10-10. But in the end, obviously, if it comes down to a game to 15, it will be Discover who will have the first chance to score because they started with the disc. Or if the cap hits at 10, let's say that the next point takes forever, and then Sirocco scores, it will still be Discover who starts on this. So, assuming Discover hold their on offense, they will win the game. It's a bit unfortunate sometimes that that Ultimate works this way. Today it doesn't matter too much because both teams have had an opportunity, but like in games with the heavy wind, it does feel where it's a lot more difficult to break. It does feel a bit sort of a letdown that even though you weren't broken on offense, you can still lose the game. But that's those are the circumstances. They are equal for everyone. Yeah, we're now getting ready to get back from the timeout. Petrao will pull, and we'll see the Sirocco offense see what they can do. That's a really good pull by Petrao. Discover here lining up in. Ooh, that's a dangerous play from Pedro. He's not really in the area, and of course you want the disc. Uncontested foul. So quite dangerous from Pedro. I'm sure that he'll be told that after the game as well. He also apologized. Still, you really gotta be careful with the other players, because like this is doesn't really help if you injure the player. This is a non-contact sport. But obviously in close games when adrenaline gets high, you can forget that a bit. We here see the. Oh, here both players go up after the disc. The Sirocco player really with a did have position on the disc, but Pedro with a nice pressure sort of was able to generate enough pressure for the Sirocco player to not to come down with it, and that's really what we teach every player. Like even if you're shorter, if you're not in the area, you make the bid, because like in the end, the offensive player still has to catch the disc for it to be a point. So yeah, now we see the Discover handlers working it. Huck to Pedro, who runs it down beautifully. It's a beautiful huck by Johnny. We saw that a couple times yesterday, and Discover get a very important break. They're now up 11-9, and they seem pretty pumped. Whereas you see the Sirocco players, they have their heads down. This is not what they wanted out of the timeout. Obviously, still have the caliber of players like the team to turn it around, but they will need to really sort of hunker down now. Obviously there are a lot of points still to be played, but that was a very important break for Discover, who look confident going into their defensive point. Sometimes on defense, it's okay if you get scored on, but if you make the offense work super hard, then that's really good as well. You can't generate a turn every point, but if you make the offense work for it, if you make them sort of doubt themselves a little bit, that's really important as well. Discover getting ready to pull. Here, Nico with the disc goes up, and it's a lot of height, not so much length on it, and you really want to see, when you see those sort of pulls, you want to see the people springing down and getting it. Now we see the Sirocco with a two-handler set, working it nicely, nice and pay. Nico almost getting the D there on number 11, who throws it deep to 24, who catches it. Justina a bit out of position there. I think she got tricked into committing to the break side. So Sirocco with a nice offensive hold, nice, clean, fast hold. Score is now 10-11, and we'll see the discovered offense back on the pitch. Not the defensive effort they were hoping for, but a really nice and clean offensive hold from Sirocco. That's just what they needed. Another break, I think, would have sort of been very demoralizing for them. But yeah, but a nice clean hold is really important. Yeah, I've just been informed that there are 25 minutes to go, which means that's a lot of time. Most likely, we will then be a game to 15. There's a hard cap, 15. So yeah. Discover can range to receive the disc. Sirocco pulling. That's a nice pull. I can't see. Oh, is it gonna draw? It's going to drop out. Johnny indicating that he's gonna break it, which means that he'll get it up on the pitch. You can see that there's an X, so we know. So it's a fairly long way up the pitch. It's usually a third of the way. It's a third of the way up the pitch. So yeah, Johnny picks it up in his three-handler set, along with Ines and Patao. Maria on disc. Dumps it off to Johnny. Johnny looks off Ines, who runs back into the stack. Throws it to Pedro, who looks up for Maria. Oh, fumbles it, but gets it on the second turn. Maria dumps it off to Patrao. Looks off the swing to Ines. She beats her mark to the line, but Patrao breaks to Johnny. That's a nice lefty break. They're really nasty to play against, those lefties. Johnny with the disc. Looks off Ines and Pedro. Dumps for Patrao. Nice throw to Eric. Looking for that dump for Patrao. Gets it. Patrao nice and calm on the disc. It's really good to see him handling with such confidence. And then, Johnny looking for Maria, but just puts a little bit too much juice on it. I think they're talking. I think it may have been a miscommunication as well. Maybe Maria was faking and then came a little too late to the cut. So now Sirocco will have a chance to get their break back and even a score at 11-all. Score's now 11-10 for Discover. But they've just turned the Discover on offense, so we'll see the Sirocco defensive trying to work it away all the way from their end zone to the Discover end zone. And here a floaty pass. I'm not really sure if someone could have put here a floaty pass. Chow indicates to Johnny that he wants him to go, but in the end holds it. And then Johnny fakes to the break side. Obviously, the defender has to respect that to Pachow's lefty outside in, and then beats him to the open side. Easy score in the end for Discover. They did turn it over, so Sirocco will be beating themselves up for giving it away so fast, actually, because they turned it over. They worked really hard on and they turned it over on a simple dump. I'm not really sure if it was dump or swing, but I think the wind just picked it up, because we have that crosswind and it hasn't really been affected throwers too much. But as I said in the beginning of the game, if you do have that pop pass and the wind just grabs it, it can float out of reach, and this is what we saw from the handler. It just floated out of reach for the handler, and there's nothing he can really do because it just keeps floating away from him. So Discover hold for a score of 12-10. So they have one break, and we see Sirocco now on offense. Again, a nice high pull, but Discover a bit slow to get down there. It could means Huck, but Patrao and Nico are all over that. that was a it must have been a set play from the beginning, and the handler just didn't read the defense, because the defense was all set up to defend that deep, and there was no way that he should have thrown that. So my guess is that it was a set play. So a set play is something that they have agreed to do on before the point, and the handler sort of committed to that in his brain, and just didn't really look at the defense properly. You see, if you'd done that, you would have seen that Discover really had set Pachar up in that poach, so there's no way he should have thrown that. Now here Ines on disc, throws it to Nico, to Pachar. Now the Discover handlers again moving it nicely to Duartex, getting it under, dumps it to Pachar, clears out. Nico cuts up line, doesn't get it. Dimitri comes down for the swing, gets it, swings it further to Ines. To Marta. Swings it to Nico. Again, nice patient here from the Discover handlers. Nico looks off, Ines dumps it to, swings it to Patrao. Who gets a floaty pass to meant for Ines, who just can't get quite up there. That's so we so Sirocco will now get a second chance to punch this game on offense, and they do really fast up the line. That was it was a bit uncharacteristic by the Discover handlers, just giving away the disc so easily, but it could be signs of fatigue. The score is now 11-12 Discover, and they will have the disc on offense. See here that players are slower to get to the lines that they were at the beginning of the game. With the small squads, 12, 13, or 13 for Discover, but one is pretty injured, and 14 for Sirocco. Day 2 is a tough day. I think day 3 will be even tougher. So small squads really suffer from these sort of longer tournaments, and you can see that as well. You can see the fatigue setting in now with both teams. Slower to get to the line, and you see a bit more unforced errors that you saw in the first half. It is to be expected, I think a larger squad would certainly have benefited both teams. It's an awful pole. Actually ends on the opposite pitch. I wasn't near landing in. Very uncharacteristic from the Sirocco players, but again, an indication probably of fatigue that it sets in here at the end of the game. Johnny on disc, taps it in, throws to Pedro, who catch it. Throws it up the line to Johnny, who throws it deep to Maria, who almost gets it. She gets a hand on it, but can't quite reel it in. That's a nice throw from Johnny, but also a bit risky, because they have been moving it quite comfortably down between the handlers. So there's no reason to throw that really hard throw for Maria to get to. We now see Sirocco with a chance to break. Score is 11-12. Discover are staying in man defense. Really committing again to protecting that open side. As we see here, the handlers when the handlers break, they are completely open their passes. Ines here bumming her mark. Oh, that's a nice grab by the Sirocco defender. Sirocco working it up the line. Pachao was poaching, so on the mark. Oh, that is a low throw. That's unfortunate for the Sirocco players. They were working up so nicely, working around the Discover switches, and then a low throw that sort of just doesn't really get any air on it. You see that this was turning down towards the wind, so the wind was pushing it down a bit instead of pushing it up, and that meant it just sort of never got any float on it. here Johnny with the hook. Pedro cutting deep, gets it out just outside the end zone. Dumps it off to Inez, who is fouled. Non-contested foul. Like obviously he didn't meant to do that. He was just running after his man. So that's what happens. Uncontested foul. Play goes on. And the disc is tapped in. Disc over offense. Knocking on the Inez with the break, and Maria with the beautiful layout catch. Nice working by the girls here, the Discover girls, who really sort of stepping up to the score is now 13-11 Discover. Sirocco will get the disc on O, but they are running out of time a bit. So I can hear behind me. I assume it's the Copenhagen club because they are playing Den Hvide Dværg by Lars Lilholt. None of you will know what this is, but it's a Danish, really terrible song. But so I assume it's KFK who are behind me, warming up. Yeah. So score is 11-13 Discover. Sirocco will be on disc. And we're sort of getting to the end of the game. Like there's still lots of time, but we'll see if Discover can close out this game in without having to go to Universe. They won 2 games yesterday, but both on Universe. Let's see if and then the one they lost I think 15-7, so not a close game. So let's see if they can actually close out a game without having to go to Universe. Nico pulls, but goes out. The Sirocco handler indicates that she will break it again. To be honest, I think it's the break mark is a bit far up, but I haven't measured, so it makes sense to break it. You get it in the middle of the pitch, and you're halfway up your own half. Like, it makes sense to break it in almost any situation. Yeah. The Sirocco players working nicely up on the open side. Now Discover seems to clamp down on that. The handler's having a bit trouble. Eric gets a nice, I don't want to call it a foot block, but he gets a D with his foot. Really dangerous had there been any players there in the area, but there weren't. Nico calls the timeout wisely. This is really a chance for Discover to get up 2 breaks, and so makes a lot of sense to call the timeout. The score is 13-11. If they can get up 14-11, that would be really big for them. So Nico calls the timeout. They have the disc around halfway. So if they can punch this in, that'll be devastating for the Sirocco team, who are slow to gather around. They seem a bit down. Usually in the timeout, you see the players spring onto the field and sort of giving water to the players playing, and just letting them talk about what's going to happen, how's and giving words of encouragement. Here we now see the Sirocco team have finally gathered, but they don't seem particularly energized here. You really want, like, as an offensive team, what you would like is nice, calm execution. So that's what Nico will be trying to instill on his team. Nice, calm execution. What if you're the defensive team? You want them to be pumped. You want them to be intense, so they will sprint their hearts out, and so they can generate those turns, high pressure, and maybe a D. I'm curious to see what sort of play Discover will come out with. They've usually after the timeout they will have a set play, so something they agree that they will do before. What I would prefer to see them to do was just sort of run the offense that has been working for them, moving it up nicely between the handlers, taking the undercuts as they're given, and sort of just then punch it in when they get to the end zone line. Here we see again after timeout, the offensive sets first. So the 7 offensive player will stand where they want to stand, and then the defense will get to set afterwards. The only rule is that Nico has to stay where he is, and he has to start on disc. And when the offensive set, as they have now, the defense is allowed to line up. And again, the defense can line up any way they want. And so when the offensive indicate they're ready, the defense will line up, and then the defense will indicate they're ready, and then they will tap in the disc. And the disc will be tapped in at 0, and here we go. Nico swings it for Johnny. For Ines, ooh, what was it a bit, but gets it Johnny. Again, this is what I wanted to see. Nice handed movement. Duarte trying to move the stack. Nice handed movement between Nico, Ines, and Johnny. Inside to Ines. Oh, that's high disc. That's a bit dangerous. But Ines ends up throwing it to Lydia for the score. So that's 11-14. They score 1 point away from victory. Had the Sirocco player been expecting, I think they may have been able to generate the D, but again the wind just caught it, so it floated a bit longer. So Ines was able to catch up, but it's very important for her. But yeah, a bit more heads-up play from Sirocco, and I think they may could have gotten that D. The score is now 11-14, and it's a game to 15. So this guy will really, with 4 points now, try and sort of finish the game. They'll start the first point on D, and as I talked about earlier, it is a small squad, so you want to be tactical. You don't need to run yourself out and completely dead on the first defensive point. You will have 3 chances on offense to score, and you sort of just need to use one of them. So there's no. Obviously, you want to generate some defensive pressure, but you wanna make sure you score on offense. If you get scored on defense, that's okay. And the pull is up. And the Sirocco in their 3 handlers set, it looks like 3 male handlers, and they huck it. Oh, that's a nice float. Will he be able to get there? Oh, that's a nice huck. It looked like it was gonna get out of reach a bit, and then it ended up floating a bit longer than I think anyone expected, and he was able to get it. Beautiful play from Sirocco. They will maybe a bit late in the game sort of to pull that out, but we'll see. The score is 14-12 Discover. They will now have 3 offensive starts to try and finish the game. But a beautiful disc and a beautiful grab by the Sirocco cutter. We now see a line from Discover. I would call it a power line of Lydia, Nico, Pachal, Duartex, Ines, Johnny, and Maria. All of them very capable offensive players, and they're clearly trying to sort of end the game now. They no point having the game, yet another game go to Universe. It'll be good for them to show that they can finish the game now. Sirocco getting ready to pull. This comes up. It's a low pull. Nico chooses to catch it high, moves it to plow, gets it past the break mark. So this is the problem with the low pulls. If the offensive player catches it, we see here Ines. Nice and fast to Nico, to Pachal. Discover handlers moving it confidently among them. Johnny looking, tosses it. Inside break to Ines, who patiently looks, then dumps it off to Johnny, who patiently throws it to Duartex. Who really should have caught that. That should have been the game. Duartex will be able to, hopefully, we will struck that off. Now, Sirocco with the chance to break. Two handlers set. Disco really committing to playing that open side. Close defense. Big call after the throw. Yeah. Players is communicating. Yeah. Pick out after the throw. Stall. Disc coming in 0. Yeah. Pick. Another pick called. This is what we tend to see when games tighten up a bit. You see a. Oh wait, injury sub. Maria calls an injury sub. Looks like something with her foot. And Marta comes in instead. The Sirocco handler taps in, looks for the long, but Lydia covers it up, swings it. Nice patience here. Inside break on the flick side. The Sirocco handler looks off. He wanted the deep cut, but looks it off. Oh, gets it on the open side. Nice patient handling here from Sirocco. Pick called after the throw. Oh, wait, before the throw. Stall in on disc in on 5. This is what we Sirocco working in nice patient. Oh, the Sirocco player dropping disc. Johnny showing nice patience here. Patrol with the disc. Calls a foul. Uncontested foul. Disco will have a chance now to finish the game. It's been a close fought game. They were here just before when we saw the Vortex drop. Nice clean swing to Nico, who fakes it off. Fakes off his defender. Dumps it off to Patrol. Looks for Johnny. Dumps it to Inez. These guys seem a bit timid. Oh. Looks off Nico. Dumps it to Patrol. Swings it to Inez. Looks off Patrol. Oh, low throw to Lydia. Some frustration among the Discover handlers now. The Sirocco will now get another chance to break. They will start at the edge of their own end zone. Working out of a two-handler set. A set stack. Oh. Yeah, gets a nice undercut. Dumps it off, swings. Break from the swing, but the floats. Inez able to come up with the disc. Dink and dump between Nico and Patrol. Patrol now at the edge of the end zone. Throws it to Drotex, who makes up for his drop earlier in the point. And that's game. 12-15 Discover. It was a hard-fought game. I want to go say congratulations. So that's it from us at the cast. We'll see you at the next game. Ciao.
Era. Faz uma vez, não faz duas.
Tá feio!